One thing I like to say is the human body is far more complex than we think. The reason I say that is because a lot of times I look at YouTube and I see these posture gurus talking about different compensations of the body and what you should do to undo that compensation. They make it sound like the body is a simple thing, that that's how it works. And when I see these videos, I ask myself, is that how it's worked when I was unwinding, which I've done a number of times these past 10 years? And the answer is no. What they're describing has nothing to do with the reality that I saw. I want to explain what I mean today. So a little bit of context. I've explained my story before a number of times, how this whole story really started for me in 2014. When a dentist in Vietnam drilled my back teeth, my body fell apart, my cognitive function, my neurological function, all these things started screwing up. And I was in an extreme emergency trying to figure this stuff out. And I did when I started Starecta, and it started coming back. And then I kind of plateaued, and then I got worse, and then I got better again. And I started in 2016, I was doing really well. So I was using a Maya brace. And that's when around that time is when I think I took things to what I call the end, where kind of all the skin on my scalp, face, and jaw shed, my jaw repositioned, my spine corrected, and all these crazy things happened. And I looked and felt better than I had at any point in my life. And that was, at the age of 38 or 39 or so. But then that didn't last long. I screwed it up by locking my bite. I didn't really understand the proper mechanics. So I screwed this up, fixed it, screwed it up, fixed it numerous times over what's been about 11 years. Right. And so I like to describe it as almost like if for those of you guys that have been a bit older and you've seen the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, it felt like I was kind of trapped in this Groundhog Day number 2. Because for 11 years, I was just like screwing myself, fixing it, like going through the same things when I was getting worse, going through the same things when I got better. While that was like a travesty of my life, and I went through a lot of bad things because of that, it did allow me to see the patterns, because the patterns just kept repeating. What did the patterns teach me? So one thing the patterns taught me is that at a high level, this stuff was simple. Right? You got the mechanics right. You wear like a mouth guard at night, and I did my stretches, and everything would improve in the long term. Cognitive function, neurological function, the way I looked, my posture, all these things would improve. But it would not be a straight line. And it was very complex how it happened, right? Like sometimes I'd have things leaking out of my ear. Sometimes I'd have lines on my face. Sometimes I'd have something on my scalp. Sometimes I'd have releases on this side of the body, and then on the other, and then in my torso, and then in my foot. And it never had anything to do with where I was stretching. There was not a single time where I said, okay, I'm going to release this, and I did something and that released. That's just not how it worked. The way my body released was completely unpredictable. Right. And usually like different things were happening at the same time. And so when I see these people that are just saying, oh, yeah, you just stretch this and then it releases, like I don't know, like that's not the reality that I saw. And because of this, I concluded that the body is extremely complex. I don't understand why these things were happening, right? And I can guarantee you that if somebody else does it, they're going to have a very different experience from me, right? Like some of the same things are going to happen, but probably in a different order and whatnot. And I would never be able to tell a person, all right, this is what you're going to go through, and have it even be close to being correct, because I would be completely wrong. Because the body compensates, and it undoes these compensations in very complex ways. And for this reason, I don't even bother. Like people ask me sometimes, what can I expect to go through? And at a high level, I'll say, yeah, like you're going to improve physically, aesthetically, cognitively. All these things are going to improve longer term. But like the specific things of what releases when, I have no idea, right? It's just way too complex. Maybe one day, years from now, they'll kind of figure out some of these things in a lot clearer way. But I honestly think like we're not even close. And I can honestly say that none of these gurus I hear are anywhere near what I consider the truth. So one of them, for example, is this guy, Neil Hallinan. He's got 158,000 YouTube subscribers. And like, he's a classic example. I watched some of his videos and it all sounds very scientific. He knows like all the body part names and what to do for this. And so tons of people are buying into this. And I just think like it's a hoax, right? Like you're teaching people, that trying to make them believe that they can undo or unwind some part of their body when in reality, I think they're going to find that like the body just doesn't work like that. And it is far, far more complex. Closing thoughts. I like to bring up my friend, my pen pal on WhatsApp. He's a doctor in the UK, and he was telling me some of his conclusions, right? Which other were interesting because they very much echoed my own. And he was talking about how he sees people on a daily basis with various injuries coming into the hospital, and they have all kinds of compensations. He sees that the body is very complex, but he's kind of concluded that if the biomechanics are right, the human body has an amazing ability to heal itself. And that is the key point, is that like if you get the biomechanics right, you're wearing something like Revive, which sounds super simple, but the body just starts being able to fix everything. The immune system works, like this, the spine just corrects. And so you almost don't need to understand the complexity because the solution is just so simple. Thanks.